If you're a smoker or vapor ready to make a change, you really only need one good reason. But with Zyn nicotine pouches, you'll discover many good reasons. Zyn is America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Plus, Zyn offers a robust rewards program. There are lots of options when it comes to nicotine satisfaction, but there's only one Zyn. Check out zyn.com/find to find Zyn at a store near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Tired of your car insurance rate going up even with a clean driving record? You're not alone. That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/ACAST today.
Hello and welcome to 15 Days of Festive Fear 2025, and we are on day number 8, and I have 2 spooky stories for you today, and our first story comes from Hannah. So just over 10 years ago, me, my mum, my twin sister and my mum's now ex-husband lived in what we thought was a normal house in Wales. My mum had a lot of work carried out inside of the house, including knocking down the chimney breast and creating an attic conversion to make the house a 4-bedroomed house. My bedroom was located just above the kitchen, my mum's room next door, the spare bedroom as a getting ready room, and my twin sister's bedroom up in the attic. It all started on a random night when I could hear a chair being dragged along the tiled floor in the kitchen, as though someone was pulling a chair out to sit at the dining table. The first time it happened, I thought maybe it was someone downstairs and I didn't think much of it, until it was practically every night for a few weeks. And it was in fact really starting to piss me off, as I was being woken up to this noise every night at around 11 p.m. I confronted everyone who lived in the house, and everyone said along the lines of, yeah, it wasn't me. The noise kept continuing, so I made my mum switch bedrooms with me, and I was now in the front bedroom and she was in my old room. I couldn't hear the dragging of the chairs anymore, but I did in fact have a feeling that someone was watching me in this bedroom. I put it down to me just being paranoid, and I just kept trying to ignore this feeling. It wasn't until one night my friend stayed over. We were watching Family Guy in my bedroom and finally had enough and both wanted to go to sleep. I couldn't find the TV remote for the life of me, so I got up to turn off the TV. As I reached my hand out to turn it off, it turned off by itself. I never ran to a light switch so fast in my life. My friend sat there confused and shocked as I told her what had just happened. We both decided to join my sister in the attic bedroom because this genuinely freaked the pair of us out. The next day I told my mum what happened, but she didn't take much notice and kind of brushed it off. A few weeks went past and not much else happened. I still had this feeling of someone watching me, but just continued about my days. This one evening, my mum, her husband at the time, and I were sat on the sofa downstairs. My sister came running down the stairs in absolute hysterics, claiming her hair had been pulled back when she was sitting on her bed. I didn't want to believe her, so being the typical sister, I laughed, which looking back was in fact super mean of me. I did believe her deep down, but I was just scared myself. My mum was concerned this time because of how upset my sister was and the fact that I had previously mentioned things in the past. We didn't know what to do, so we just continued our lives as normal in the house. This one afternoon I was talking to my mum in the kitchen about the weird things that had been happening. She admitted that she could constantly smell smoke in her bedroom and couldn't work out where the smell was coming from, as no one in the house smoked. I never smelt it myself, but she did, and I believed her. Our next door neighbour at the time claimed to be spiritual, so my mum started to tell her all the things that were happening. My neighbour had gotten in touch with one of her friends who agreed to come to the house and perform a séance. A few days later there was a knock at the door. It was my neighbour and her friend. Her friend stood there with a smile on her face and introduced herself to my mum, my sister and I, who were stood at the door to greet her. I will never forget what she said. She looked straight past us and looked at the stairs that were behind us. I turned around, but I didn't see anything. She said, "There's someone telling me, dolphin, dolphin, and wants me to go upstairs." I looked at her confused and just thought she was a bit nuts. My mum didn't want me and my sister in the house while the séance was happening, and to be honest, I didn't want to be either. My next door neighbour offered for us both to sit in her house with her daughter, who was near enough the same age as us. As the lady walked into our house, my next door neighbour took me and my sister into her house before she left to join the others. I remember sitting on the sofa that faced the kitchen. We were just sitting, talking and watching TV for what felt like forever. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a black figure kind of run across the kitchen. Then, a few minutes later, another one, and then another one. I asked the girls if they had seen anything, but they said no. I know what I saw, and it freaked me out. Bear in mind, our kitchens backed onto each other. About 5 minutes after this, my mum called for me and my sister to go back into the house. And that's when we were told everyone is gone. I was really confused, so of course I asked a bunch of questions. Apparently the dragging noise that I was hearing was a young boy who was lost. He had a short leg iron shoe, which kind of explained the dragging noise. I've never heard of this and I had to Google what it looked like. She then explained that there was a little girl who would sit on the second step of the attic and watch us brushing our teeth in the bathroom and doing our day-to-day things. She wanted to show the lady a photograph of me and my sister feeding dolphins in America, which was displayed in my sister's bedroom. This genuinely scared me. Apparently when she pulled my sister's hair, she was playing and she didn't mean any harm. Then, moving on to the smell of smoke, the lady had told us that there was a man in the house who used to work as a chimney sweep. Apparently, when we knocked down the chimney, it must have caused for him to be disturbed. This would explain the 3 shadows that I had seen passing through into my neighbour's kitchen. I stood there in shock and obvious fear after being told what was also living with us. We were told under no circumstances were we to talk about what had happened in the house. Otherwise, the spirits will think we missed them and will come back. I feel okay to speak about it now and then as it happened years ago. I now live in the same house with my young daughter and touch wood, everything has been fine since. We still have no idea what attracted these spirits to our house and why they chose to stay. But I know what I saw, and I definitely believe what I was told, even if people don't believe me and think that I'm nuts. I promise you, Hannah, that nobody listening to this podcast thinks that you are nuts, and that is for sure. I also had to look up what a short leg iron shoe was. And it looks to me like it was sort of a splint, like an iron splint that was used when people had weak bones and joints from like tuberculosis or from having rickets. And it looks that it was, quite a clumpy kind of frame that went around the foot. So it would make sense that that would sound like a kind of a metal dragging or a chair being dragged across the floor. And that very much feels like a residual energy, considering it was waking you up at the same time every night, that same noise. And it definitely sounds like whatever was in that house was trying to get attention. Like turning off the TV just as you're going to turn the TV off. That's pretty attention-seeking behaviour. Hair being pulled, again, it's pretty attention-seeking behaviour. And it also seems to track with this idea that there are kids in the house. There's this little boy with the short leg brace. There is this little girl who's sitting on the stairs and she's watching you guys when you're milling about from the day to day. And then, of course, there's this man who was a chimney sweep. And then when you ripped down the chimney breast, it disturbed his spirit. And I kind of love the idea of someone who was sensitive coming to the house to do a séance. Because look, regardless of what you think about séances, like, you saw what looked to be 3 kind of shadow figures sprinting across the kitchen that backed onto your kitchen where this séance was taking place, right? That's pretty amazing. And I wonder, like, obviously, Hannah, this happened 10 years ago or whatever. Do you still sense things now? On a day-to-day basis? Is there a reason, I wonder, why you were particularly sensitive to seeing these things that were in the house? I do love it when people bring in mediums and seances are done and whatever, and they actually seem to work in a really positive way. The family gets information, And there's closure for all involved, including the dead, and everybody can kind of go back to living a nice, normal life. That is the kind of mediumship that we want and need.
What are you reaching for? If you're a smoker or vapor, you could be reaching for so much more with Zyn nicotine pouches. When you reach for Zyn, you're reaching for 10 satisfying varieties and 2 strengths for a smoke-free experience that lets you lean in, for chances to break free from your routine, and a unique nationwide community. Whatever you're reaching for, reach for it with America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Find yours in wherever nicotine products are sold near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Grief doesn't keep a calendar. Anxiety doesn't clock out after 5. Depression doesn't care if it's your busy season. But support can still fit into your life. With Grow, you can find a therapist who meets you where you are. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions. You can search by insurance, provider specialty, treatment methods, and more to find a therapist who works for you. And if it's not the right fit, switching is easy. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Find therapy on your time. Evenings, weekends, and cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
And our second story today comes from Kathleen. I live in a big northern city on the western prairies in Canada. We have long hot summers and seemingly endless cold winters. Autumn is about a month long and perfect in all aspects. Temperature-wise, it's not too hot or cold, with a lot of crisp gold-coloured leaves to crunch through. Canadian Thanksgiving falls during the second weekend in October. The tradition is much like the US version. Lots of overeating of roast turkey and, of course, pumpkin pie. Families and friends gather and give thanks for the plentiful harvest. This year, my partner and I decided to skip cooking a big turkey, as it's just the two of us. We settled on treating ourselves to a fancy Thanksgiving meal at one of our city's oldest hotels. Our history here in Western Canada is such that most buildings are not typically more than 100 years old, as the land was settled by Europeans just after the turn of the 20th century. The hotel, which will remain nameless, was built in 1915 in the Chateau style, which is a revivalist architectural style based on the French Renaissance architecture. That's what Wikipedia says anyway. It is very big and grand. Everyone from the Queen of England to Justin Timberlake has graced the hotel with their presence. It is a very popular place for locals as well, who enjoy the bar, restaurant and English tea service that they offer. We went to the hotel and had a pre-dinner cocktail in the beautiful lounge, and then decided to check our coats before heading into the restaurant. The restaurant is next to the main lobby area, with the restrooms diagonally across from the restaurant entrance. I excused myself before we checked in with the hostess, as I wanted to freshen up. My partner stayed at the hostess desk to wait for me. I left and crossed the thick carpet towards the ladies' room. As I put my hand on the door to enter the restroom, I heard a deep, breathy male voice let out a very close, long sigh into my right ear. Startled, more because why was a man so close behind me, I turned around to see who it was. There was not a soul around. I like to think that a hotel of such age and grandeur will hold the energy from all of the many travellers and visitors. Maybe some of these guests decided to stay behind. Someday I'm going to do Christmas dinner in a bougie hotel, and I'm going to, go and be really fancy and not have to do any washing up, and then eventually go home for the evening full of Christmas dinner and cocktails and sit and eat cheese at home for the evening, and there'll be no washing up to do. That would be very cool. I do think that hotels are weird, like liminal spaces. I think there's something really fascinating about hotels and hotels being haunted. And I think, lots of older hotels seem to have strange hauntings for whatever reason. Like a lot of death happens in hotels. There's a lot of emotion that runs high in hotels. So it makes sense that they would be haunted spaces. I would find that very disconcerting, walking to the bathroom and then hearing a man's sigh in your ear. I would be freaked the fuck out. And I would love to know if anyone else has experienced stuff like that in this same hotel. I mean, I'm sure they have, right? I don't know how you'd find out. Sometimes you can find out brilliant stuff about hotels if you look at the reviews on TripAdvisor. People will say on the reviews on TripAdvisor, I had a really good time until I had this weird haunted experience. I was looking up a particular hotel in Ireland that's said to be really haunted, and I was reading through the reviews that were like, basically, I had a really nice time, but, in the middle of the night, I woke up and there was someone standing at the end of my bed, whatever. So sometimes the reviews on TripAdvisor can actually give you a lot more information than you might think. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Hannah and Kathleen for sending in your stories. Remember, if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, except for every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.
What are you reaching for? If you're a smoker or vapor, you could be reaching for so much more with Zyn nicotine pouches. When you reach for Zyn, you're reaching for 10 satisfying varieties and 2 strengths for a smoke-free experience that lets you lean in, for chances to break free from your routine, and a unique nationwide community. Whatever you're reaching for, reach for it with America's #1 nicotine pouch brand. Find yours in wherever nicotine products are sold near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.